Welcome, everybody, to the Sin Adventure. I'm James Showers, cleanest name in the biz, and today we're joined with Rougneck Grooming and Beard Company. For everyone out there who doesn't know who you are you, what's your brand, and what kind of products do you offer?
Yeah, sure, man. I'm really glad to be here, first of all. I'm Brad Jackson. My brand is Rougneck. It's always been Rougneck Beard Company. Recently, we've sort of adopted Rougneck Grooming and Beard just to sort of send the message that we have more than just beard stuff. But yeah, Rougneck Grooming and Beard works. We offer a little bit of everything. We offer beard oils. We have a whipped product called Beard Batter that's been pretty huge over the last decade. And then a line of balms, a couple of different protein sprays and growth enhancers and maximizers. Beautiful mustache training wax, and on top of that we have pre-shave oils and double-edged safety razors and all kinds of things like that. We have a dry shampoo and a hair clay and a natural it's called junk powder. It's like a gold bond alternative. All kinds of stuff, man. Pretty much everything somebody would want.
Nice. So basically the full spectrum of men's grooming is what you're offering, kind of.
Exactly, yeah.
Nice. I like to ask people, everyone always wants to know, like, if this has become something that you're able to quit your job at. So
Sure.
Have you been able to quit your job? And if not, what do you do for work?
Well, so I was I quit my job nine and a half years ago for this company.
Nice.
So this company has kept me and my family afloat for almost a decade now, which is pretty great. Before that, I was I'm a touring musician. I've been touring since I was about 17, and a lot of the time, touring musicians, unless you're like really making it out there, which not a lot of us are, you find a job that pays pretty good. So I was doing production. We were living in Nashville, and I was working production. I was doing sound and lights for like major touring acts and stuff, like big touring acts. And it was also keeping me on the road a lot. And I had two babies under 2 at home, and wanted to spend a little bit more time at home with them. And so we had $40 in the bank. That's the whole joke all the time, is we had $40 in the bank, and I bought enough stuff to make the first couple bottles, and and then sort of built it up from there. Really, I mean, we scaled it up until we felt pretty satisfied with where we were at, and after the first couple of years, we kind of took our hands off to see if it would float, and it did. and that was it. That was off to the races.
That's cool. So kind of a touring musician, a little bit of roadie gigging there. And then exactly. Obviously kind of have some humble beginnings, like you said, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So outside of the body care realm here, what kind of collections, hobbies, or interests do you have?
So I mean, I'm a huge music guy in general. We play kind of like a twangy rock and roll sort of thing. I'm not always about calling it just country music, but it's definitely like honky tonk rock and roll, kind of country inspired stuff. And for that we'll say like probably 5 out of 7 days a week, I'm taking in some kind of live music. We have a lot of people in and out of here. We put up a lot of bands. I'm here in our beautiful finished basement, right? I'm kidding. It's not very beautiful, but it's more like the music room's one over, and we put up a lot of bands here and things like that. So really, like, a lot of my free time is spent very socially, I guess, would be the right way to explain it. But when I'm not doing that, man, I mean, I play a lot of video games.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of like a nerdy PC gamer. That's my little podcaster setup here. Do a lot of that kind of stuff, and that's the bulk of it, man. I really like to cook.
Cool.
I'm kind of a nerd about cooking as well. I like to try all kinds of different cultural fusion type things.
Okay.
And have
That's cool, man. So what's the story behind this brand name, Rougneck?
Sure. It's honestly not that deep, but my dad was a laborer his entire life. He worked oil fields, and I never did. So at first I was a little resistant to using it because roughneck, like oil field workers are incredibly proud of being roughnecks.
Yep.
Um, but we were, it was. I mean, I grew up. My dad wound up being a union electrician, but that was kind of where he got his start. Um, and we were kind of thinking about, what is a beard
Yeah.
if not kind of a roughneck, which was, I mean, corny or whatever, but that was the whole thing. Is I knew we wanted to make like an affordable product for blue collar folks, because at the time it was like, I've said a bunch. When we started the company 10 years ago, there were two other companies in the United States, and it was Beard Brand, and
Okay.
it was Honest Amish,
Yeah.
and both of them are incredible brands. But Honest Amish was doing one thing, and then Beard Brand was very like hipster focused, and I just didn't feel like anybody was like right in the middle of the road for the blue collar crowd and whatnot. So that
Yeah.
was really what I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to make like a really quality product for that was just really affordable for people, and kind of aimed toward like, you know the kind of stuff that like my dad would buy, like he's the kind of guy that like he drinks Folgers coffee, and he's pretty no frills.
Yeah.
And so I just, I wanted something that, somebody doesn't have to be kind of a fancy guy to buy or whatever.
Like a true roughneck. That's exactly
Yeah.
what I thought of when I heard the brand name or read the brand name. I was thinking of oil fields and the roughnecks
Yeah.
that actually work on those rigs out there.
Yeah, big time. Yeah,
So that's
I mean,
cool.
it's always been a joke that we always say, we're in the oil business.
Wow.
So it kind of shapes up.
Yeah. So how long has this brand been a brand right now? About
Uh,
almost 10 years.
10 years. Yeah, 2014. It's technically we're rounding a little bit. It was June 1st of 2014. So
Nice.
we have about two months and a week until our actual 10-year anniversary. But yeah, about 10 years. And formulating and everything like that didn't happen overnight. So it was, probably about it's definitely been over 10 years since we started putting it all together.
Okay. What kind of process goes into creating and choosing scents for your products?
Sure. I'm like hugely dedicated to perfuming arts. There's a lot of like you the concept of perfuming is where you have your top note, your middle note, and your base note. And when you put on a cologne or whatever, the first thing that you catch is the top note. That's always going to be your more acidic type of stuff. That's going to be your citrus or your peppermint or like things like that. The basically like the sharper is always normally about the top note.
Okay.
Middle notes are always going to be, you probably wouldn't catch the middle note if the blender is good at it. You won't really know what the middle note is. But
Yeah.
these are things like rosemary or cypress, or they sound like they would have a really big scent, but they really don't. They're more of what we call fixatives that sort of set the scent and allow it to mature.
Yeah.
And then we use a lot of base, and then our base notes are, that could be anything from patchouli to birch tar to cinnamon to clove, all of that, kind of what you would imagine like with the balls, like the bulky, not bulk, I don't want to say bulky, but the large, like the more deep, like depth of scent, I
Yeah.
suppose, is the way to say that. So when I blend, we use a traditional scent wheel. In perfuming, there's like these scent wheels that are basically like, it's sort of like the color wheels or whatever for complementary colors.
Yeah.
It's set up almost exactly the same, but it's the idea of like, you're not really necessarily going to mix, citrus with like vanilla, because that might be a little strange. Although, then you get that dreamsicle vibe or whatever. But um, there's just things that don't always, like, you wouldn't necessarily mix like lime with, um, I don't know, just you want things that are complementary. And so
Okay.
normally when we formulate, I have the idea of what I'm going for. So, with something like High Noon, our oil High Noon, or there's Smooth Dude right there. Um, like we want It's, ultimately I was aiming to make kind of a cowboy blend. And
Okay.
same deal with High Noon. So Smooth Dude and High Noon are both kind of cowboy style blends, where Smooth Dude is cedar and citrus. Um, High Noon is way more like the whiskey wood smoke vibe.
Okay.
So whenever we start there, then I kind of start to channel what I believe would channel that the most. So with something like High Noon, we have the birch tar, which is kind of a campfirey, leathery kind of a scent, and then we mix in a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of clove for that bite. I mean, I'll just and so it really does, like, it's a very manly, very, like, Western style whiskey and wood smoke sort of scent.
Okay. So are you using almost all essential oils, fragrance
No.
oils, or are you
Uh,
breaking down natural and synthetic materials for that?
so universally, except for one thing that we do, we use essential oils for
Okay.
everything. The only thing that we do is we use oak moss. We have it's actually a limited edition. It's not even one that's in our main line, but for World Beard Day every year, we come up with a World Beard Day blend.
Okay.
And then on World Beard Day, like, the vault opens and you can buy all the previous year World Beard Day blends as well. And
Okay.
in one of our World Beard Day blends, we use oak moss, which is an absolute. And so we dilute that in and we make like a fragrance oil using the oak moss. But other than that, we use all essential oils.
Hey, my bird's chirping like crazy in the
Yeah,
background.
I
Hopefully
hear
that's
that.
not. Um,
It's
I
not
want to
driving
go.
me nuts, man.
Okay, I want to pick him up. Normally he comes over here and hangs out,
Oh,
but
cool.
he's. Let me try to grab him real quick
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he's
yeah.
gonna
Go
make
nuts,
noise
man.
this whole entire time.
Absolutely, man. No problem at all. No problem at all.
Let's go. Come on, Ethelbert. There we go. Okay. Okay.
There we go.
All right, there we go. Jeez, he wanted to be by the window.
Oh, I get
Sorry,
it.
everybody.
I get it.
Dude.
I like being by the window as well. I get it. I get it.
Okay, so, what kind of hurdles or obstacles have you had to overcome
Sure.
starting this brand?
I'll say that starting the brand was probably the easiest part. Um, just I am I'm a certified clinical trichologist, and I'm a certified master herbalist. And so I was able to really use my education to, like, put this stuff together fairly quickly. We use an independent lab to test everything that we made. So over the course of, like, several months, and definitely, like, a lot of money invested, we wound up dialing in the formula and everything. But formulation is, I mean, that's the fun part. It's honestly, it's the mad science part. It's the fun part. And most crafters will tell you that that's where you just you cut loose with a bunch of scents and a bunch of oils, and you get to try it and wear it for a day and write down your thoughts and all that kind of stuff. And so I love doing all of those things, and then submitting everything to a lab and getting my lipid profiles back, and being
Yeah.
able to really look at how it all goes down. um but the hardest part, man, is, back then, I mean, it was a decade ago. So you're talking about 2014. You could get on Facebook at that time and you could just talk to people. I mean, it was you know what I mean? Like, it was so much easier to connect with people than it is now. And
Yeah.
so, the way the algorithms have changed, and the way that, Facebook caught wind of the fact that people like me were just, like, reaching customers without paying them any money, like, so ads have gotten crazy, digital marketing has gotten crazy. It is so difficult in 2024 just to reach directly out to people. And that's kind of like, you appreciate it because you don't want people reaching out to you all the time to try to sell you something. I get it. I don't
Yeah.
want that either. Um, but it just used to be more along the lines of, like, people went someplace to meet people who wanted to make something, and it was just an easier vibe to, like, get it all going. And so that's the biggest struggle now, is just, and over the years, I mean, it's the other thing is, it's ever changing. It's always completely always changing. And I remember, in 2015, 2016, everybody was saying, like, control your brand, like, you want people to come to you. You want them to go to roughneckbeardcompany.com to buy it. Don't put it on Amazon. Don't, all those things. And then, 2-3 years ago, they're like, if you're not on Amazon, you've lost it, and
Yeah.
it takes so long to like, a lot of people don't know how Amazon works or whatever, but like, all these different beard oils and stuff that we have, you list them on Amazon one at a time. And so you would put like, there's innocuous beard oil on your screen right there. We would list innocuous beard oil on Amazon, and then we would spend time and effort and money to get that ranked so that it pops up when people type in beard oil. And then once we get that to a certain level, then we would put high noon beard oil on there and do the same thing. Well, we
Okay.
have like 20 oils. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it would
Yeah.
take so long, or we have like 25 products. It would take so long to get each of our SKUs on Amazon, and then trying to rank them now, like this kind of late in the game, it'd be an astronomical expense. I mean, it would just, so I guess just the general hurdles of figuring out like sales platforms and everything like that is constantly wild. And we are, I mean, we're all over the place. Like, every individual platform, like even Pinterest is like a huge platform where people still find all their stuff, and now everybody sells on TikTok, and I
Yeah.
mean, you sell on Facebook, you sell, I mean, we have eBay listings, we oddly enough,
Yeah.
and so it's just, you want to be everywhere now. And back then they were like, just be in one place, just make them come to you. And it's just
A little different now, huh?
they were wrong.
Definitely can be a money pit too, throwing some money at advertising. I know Facebook ads, I mean, that could be an endless pit, just
Yeah.
throwing money down there, trying to hit the right audience.
It's true.
You can get a bunch of clicks, but you might get zero sales from that, and
Yeah,
they only guarantee you clicks.
exactly.
Amazon too, that is interesting. You always have to get your products ranked, or they're just not going to show up for people.
Right.
Basically, right?
Exactly,
And then
yeah.
a lot of the times, are you using fulfillment centers with Amazon where, hey, you pay
Well,
for
that
the overhead?
would be the general idea, yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, the whole, I mean, the dream, obviously, like I've never wanted to disconnect from the brand, because I've always been sort of synonymous with Roughneck. Just, if you buy stuff and you reach out to customer service, you're talking to me or you're talking to my fiance, and it's just kind of all in the family. But the dream is obviously, if you do something like Amazon or something along those lines, then you're having your product made by an independent laboratory based on your specifications, and then they label it, and then they drop ship it to Amazon warehouses, who then drop ship it to, and then you're sort of hands off, and then at that point you can like just focus on marketing, and or just being the brand, being the guy.
Yeah.
And that's always been the dream. When I, over the course of the last 10 years, especially like when I started the company, I got really into just like the nonprofit beard world, like beard clubs and beard competitions and all of that stuff. And I've attended so many beard competitions. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's like 141 over the years that I've been to, and I've judged like 35 of them. And for a little while there, I was the most decorated judge in facial hair league history, which was pretty
Jeez.
cool. We donate like a ton of money to beard competition, or a ton of product to beard competitions, and
Yeah.
then I'm the founder and former president of BAM STL, which is the St. Louis-based beard club. My super good buddy Dave Dorney is the president now, and I'm the vice president now. But
Okay.
so we've been very like wrapped up we've been very like present in the beard world, and that's the stuff that I would rather do. You know what I mean? The whole like
The
digital
fun stuff.
marketing and the graphs and that's what I'm saying. I just want to go and be the brand.
So
That's what
so what got you started in your body care journey here?
Sure. That's I mean, to me, when my kid's mom and I was touring a lot at the time, and she was in cosmetology school, and I mean, she's a hairstylist, and she went to school for cosmetology, and I went to school for trichology, And the general idea was that, between the two of us, like we would be, maybe we'd open a barber shop one day, maybe we would, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And at the time, I mean, I didn't even have a beard. I had like a little goatee, or not a goatee, but I had like the little chin strap with the connect, or
Yeah.
whatever. I guess it's a goatee, whatever. But it was, I always like used the clippers and shaved it to like a 4. It was always very short. And it wasn't really until my son was born, and I was off the road for like 4 months or whatever, and I just let my beard grow. And it was really like the first time I had ever done that, and I just it was really itchy, man. I mean, that's the same story I feel like everybody tells. It was just, I had a remarkably itchy beard, and I did buy stuff. I bought stuff from Beard Brand, and I bought stuff from Honest Amish. And to be honest with you, one of the products that I love so much that's not mine is the Honest Amish like original beard balm.
Yeah.
It's like a comforting scent to me. It's really good stuff. And I think they put a little lanolin in there, man. I mean, there's not a whole lot like it. It's kind of got that grit, but it's really good stuff. But it just, nothing that I was grabbing was really eliminating the itch in that way. And I was trying to find, at that point I was already doing like lipid profile stuff and studying like chain fatty acids and triglycerides and things like that. And so I knew what needed to be done. And when I was looking at their formulas, I was like, I mean, they're doing it to an extent, but we can do this. We can do, And coming out of the gate in those days, I was really just trying to make my beard less itchy. But then seeing the way that those guys were, and seeing that middle ground where, offering a good quality product to blue collar folks, I was just kind of called to do it, man. So
Yeah. Just kind of found you almost a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you were to start this whole project over, what kind of things would you have done differently?
So definitely, like I said, scaling would have been done a lot differently. I would have worked way less hard to maintain the brand than I would have spread it all over the world for sure. We have a brick and mortar store here in St. Louis. It's constant. It's almost its own thing, because it's a lot of like walking traffic type stuff. And post COVID, physical retail sales are way down, and online orders are way up, and corporate or commercial real estate is way up.
Yeah.
I think honestly, like, we'll probably wind up closing the stores at some point, like and I think if I probably had a little, snap call, I probably would have closed the stores like on the onset of COVID. I think it just would have saved a lot of stress and probably money and, time figuring that out, I mean, just things like that. But yeah, other than that, man, I really, the journey has been a blast. I mean, it's, we have a really killer, we have a Facebook group that's been a really big part of the whole thing. It doesn't see as much engagement as it used to, but just years and years and years of this like really core group of like 50 or 60 people that just like, I mean, it's like a lot of groups. It's like the one where I met you through and stuff, where just everybody's supporting everybody, and everybody's, like, just, if somebody falls on hard times, we're raising money. If somebody, we started doing these like annual retreats where we would go somewhere, and like roughnecks from all over the place would come and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just so much fun, man. The journey's just been an absolute blast.
That's cool.
And so I don't have a lot of regrets. I mean, little business steps that I might have taken differently, but the whole running of everything has just been super fun, man. Super fun.
Nice.
And it also lets me play music, and it lets me spend a ton of time with my kids, and
Yeah. Opens up your life a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah.
So we kind of touched base on scent creation, how you're kind of putting that all together. What goes into the products and the decisions to launch
Sure.
certain products? Are you making all these in house too? Correct.
We are, yeah, we absolutely are. We
Okay.
one of our retail stores, that's where the lab is, and it's an FDA approved lab. It's very clean and nice, and whatever. But so you'll see where you're at right now. You'll see where a lot of these products are labeled American Rambler, and I didn't really mention that, but that's a lot of kind of what we're doing right now is almost all of like the men's grooming products that are not beard related are under this banner American Rambler.
Okay.
Um, that's where so for a long time we were doing like Roughneck Beard Company and American Rambler, and we're kind of at this like we don't know exactly how to proceed, but I think it's all going to wind up eventually under the umbrella of Roughneck Grooming and Beard. Like that'll kind of bring
Yeah.
it all together. Um, so when American Rambler though was like something that I knew we wanted to do for a long time, primarily because um, there's beard seasons, um, and you wish there wasn't or whatever, but you have your clientele that's got the big giant beards, and they're doing the beard competition, and they're like living that beard life like all the way,
Yeah.
and there's unfortunately just not enough of those to feed my family all year round. So, you know what I mean? Like, to buy enough product to where it's going to be like profitable in like the August heat, or like whatever. So,
Yeah.
we're relying on all of those beard growers and stuff, the new guys and everything else to, it's those guys that wander in and become the bulk of the sales. And in July, in the hottest months, July and August specifically, sales fall off a cliff. I mean, it just, and almost probably anybody in the beard care industry will tell you that in general. It's just winter gold, no shave November, amazing. Christmas time, awesome. All winter, fantastic. But in the summer, it just falls off. And so we knew we wanted to do more and we wanted to offer more, especially in our brick and mortar stores, just to get people in the doors on those hot summer months when people aren't coming in to buy beard stuff. So we launched American Rambler with the idea of being like kind of just like a little pro hipster brand, man. Like your
Yeah.
hair clays and your solid colognes and dry shampoos and all that kind of stuff. And so when it comes to any product that we make, it's always based on sort of not necessarily the necessity. Like like with the Roughneck line, we are pretty set with what we have.
Okay.
We do like, I mean, the oil blend is 8 carrier oils, all geared highest content of triglycerides and fatty acids. Like I've said, we take that blend, we whip it directly into unrefined shea butter to get our beard batter right there.
Okay.
Right underneath that, we add CBD oil to get our bud batter.
That's how you get the infused deep
Yeah,
treatment.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
wondering about the difference between those two.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. That's got the CBD oil and turmeric to increase the bioavailability of the CBD.
Okay.
Then we add beeswax to get our balms. We add pine tar to our pine tar balm, which is one of my favorite products that we have.
Okay. And you're
And
using
then-
real pine tar
Oh, absolutely,
extract. Yeah, it's kind of got that little smoky
Oh yeah,
wood scent to it.
Absolutely, yeah. And so it really is just like Bill and their Genesis is one of the last things that we put out, where we just knew that we wanted. Hair in general has like an aqueous layer. When your hair is wet or really damp, it's in a better place to like absorb anything.
Yeah.
That's the whole concept with like actually good like hair conditioners. If you just put conditioner in dry, your hair's not ready to absorb it. So we always suggest putting a product in a slightly damp beard, and Genesis became that nutrient rich moisture. It's actually based on Genesis is FDA approved, and it's based on a formula that men have been using for a long time to fight male pattern baldness.
Okay.
And then so it basically like the MSM basically binds and aids in the creation of keratin, while the biotin is increasing the strength and the B12 is increasing blood flow around the follicle. And so it really is just like a lot of science working together. It's not when we announced it at first, like we got so much pushback from the world because, or just people just being like, you can't make these claims.
Yeah.
And that's where the FDA approval came in, because the FDA approval will not approve you if you're making crazy claims, and what they call it, I can't think. The FDA approval process is a little crazy, but there's two ways to go about FDA approval, and one of them is by piggybacking on the FDA approval that your ingredients have, and that's the easy way. And
Okay.
so since the ingredients were already approved for this use, we were able to get the approval for it as well. But
Okay.
yeah, and then we add a little anhydrous caffeine to make the juice there, which that's where you get your DHT blockers. That's where you can prevent growth stalls and stuff like that.
Okay.
And
Looks like you have like a standard set of products and
right.
scents. Are you doing like the monthly drops of limited scents like a lot of these other brands are, or are you just
No.
sticking with your core
Yeah.
20?
We're sticking with the core for sure. I mean, the general idea is, if you look at the oils, they're mostly in sets of threes. And so when we first launched, we literally just had snake oil, vigilant, and smooth dude. Those were the three oils that we offered. And it's super easy because it's just, snake oil is like your eucalyptus tea tree, vigilant is kind of a peppermint clove, kind of an exotic one, and then smooth dude was sort of your cedar citrus. So you have your cowboy, you have your exotic, and you have your sort of medicinal, and that's kind of like the spectrum that people go for, besides like the fruity sweet stuff.
Yeah.
um and almost every time we announce, like we put out the lines in threes, the next to come was Crow's Nest, Tree Feller, and High Noon, which is your pirates, lumberjacks, and cowboys. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so we always do things in threes. We have the spice line that's innocuous, number 9, and I'm blanking on the wintertide, and
Okay.
those are but then in addition, we wound up adding some seasonals. So now we have Honey Shot, which is like your Midwest summer honeysuckle kind of vibe. Wintertide, which is obviously your winter. Hoodie Weather for the fall. We have Comeback Kid for the spring. So we're really hitting on all the seasons now. But everything really is like very intentional. We're doing everything very intentional.
Yeah.
And I've really worked really hard to not do those like constant drops, primarily because one of my biggest things is, like, this is an unpopular opinion. I'm full of those lately, but I don't want we don't want our clientele to stock up. Like, we don't want people to have these giant collections of like 100 different beard oils. And the reason why is because after, if you're not in like a sanitized like lab, then you're exposing your oils to a lot of different elements, and UV light here and there, and on and on and on. And the shelf life of your oil is most likely going to be about 10 months.
Okay.
And then, on like unadulterated, you're looking at maybe 13 months, so about a year and a month. And then after that period of time, the oils are rancid.
Yeah.
And once the oils are rancid, that means full fatty acid breakdown. That means they do not work anymore. They do not impart any benefit anymore. And worse than that, they develop free radicals, and free radicals can be very detrimental to your skin. It's also just putting carcinogens right on your face, which, like, I guess in extreme cases could like cause cancer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons to not use rancid oil. Like, most likely not going to cause cancer, but still, what's the point? But
Yeah.
because so many companies are using fragrance oils, or because these are scented products, you're probably not going to be able to smell that it's rancid. And so that's my entire deal. Is a lot of the time you see these really big collections of like hundreds of oils, and there's just no way that anybody's going to be able to use those before they go rancid.
Yeah. I'm
And
guilty
then
of that myself, to be honest. I've
it's
gotten
okay.
a bunch.
I get it. I get it.
To touch base on that, to be honest, another little thing is, especially the brands that are doing like weekly drops and stuff.
Right.
I mean, there's a certain point when, you need your customers like to, they're never going to financially recover from this.
That's kind of the
you
thing.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys are just constantly buying these oils and butters,
Right.
and like you said, they probably won't ever use them.
Right. And we're really all about additionally, because it's a high quality product, we recommend 5 to 8 drops for about any beard size. Like, you'd be more of a 5 drop guy. I'd be a little bit more of like a 6-7 drop guy, and the big beards guys would be like an 8 drop guy. Okay. Maybe a little bit more, but I'm saying, like, you can be really conservative with how much of our stuff you use. And because it's a high quality product, you don't have to apply more than once a day. And so a lot of guys with beards like yours, and a lot of guys with beards like mine, are getting 2-3 months out of a bottle of beard oil. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And our entire thing is, we're like, we want you to use it, and then we want you to come back and buy another one from us when you're ready for another one. And if you want to pick up like a 3-pack, we have the 3-packs. We have really easy, like, monthly packages that just have that have your oil, balm, batter, Genesis. Really easy. Like, you just buy it once a month and you're set for the month, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's really our whole approach, man. We do everything we can to not nickel and dime our customers, because we set out to make something that was affordable for working class folks.
Yeah.
And that's, I can't afford that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. There's no way I could afford to stock up on like a huge collection,
Same here. I mean, sometimes I feel like the art and stuff has to do with it. You get a cool art coming out, and you got to get the bottle.
Totally.
So what kind of like milestones or moments of success have you had in this company that like really stick out to you?
I definitely think like a really big moment was the opening of our brick and mortar store, the first one. It just, a lot of companies, you can find, well, I'll tell you, there was a brand that I really respected for years called Can You Handle Bar. I don't know if you remember them, but they were really popular. They wound up being like the official brand of Art of Shaving, like in the malls.
Yeah.
The Art of Shaving, and right about the time Doug is the owner of that, or was the owner of that company, they actually just hung it up, I think, like a few months ago. But right around the time that Doug landed the Art of Shaving deal, which was like a $1 million contract, a huge deal for an independent crafter, we opened our first brick and mortar storefront.
Okay.
And it was kind of just cool, because it was sort of like a lot of the guys that have been doing this for a really long time were kind of finding their lanes, and it just made so much sense. Like, I live in a little small it's not a small town, it's it's St. Louis City, but we're divided up into these little municipalities and little villages, and I live in this little town called Maplewood that's in the St. Louis area.
Okay.
And it's got like a real cute little urban downtown. We opened our little brick and mortar store, and 9 times out of 10 on any given day, there'd be a bunch of musicians busking outside, and we have all the posters all over our window for like upcoming, live music and festivals, and it, we were really just like in the community. We were hosting a ton of community events and stuff like that, and it was really like, this is what I want. This is like exactly what I want. I want this community connection. I want this hub for entertainment, for artists, and for like all these different, just a place where everybody can come and support. And we're just selling this product, but that's like almost like not totally the point. Like, that's why we're here, but that's by doing that, we've become like a place where we can have this community attachment or whatever,
Yeah.
And so I really think that like finding that lane was like one of the proudest moments, but also just like one of the most like those first couple years were so much fun, man. I mean, they were just so much fun.
That's
And
sweet.
we ran. You know, we're 8 years into the shop, and it's just it's time to for the next thing. You know,
Yeah.
but yeah, you know.
What kind of products or scents do you feel have been like failures?
Um,
Is there any that like stick out that like you just said, hey, this was junk or just didn't work out?
yeah, kind of. We've done a handful of products. Back in the day, we used to do um, these products for beard competitors, and the whole idea was that we put their face on a bottle, and we still have a couple of them that are on there, but more like in like a non-official vibe now. But we put their face on a bottle, and at the time when these people were really big going to beard competitions, we would take $3 from every product and we put it into like a fund, and then they could use that fund to travel to more beard competitions. And at one time we had 6 of those products, and
Okay.
now there's only 2 now, and there's no fund anymore. It's just whatever. But and one of those products was for a guy in one of the California clubs. He's in the Sacramento, California club, I believe. And his name is Sean Rager. He's got a really giant. A lot of people have seen him. He's
I
got.
think I've seen that guy. He's in
Okay, yeah,
the Handlebar Hellions,
yeah.
probably one of
I'm
those
sure he
groups,
is.
right?
Yeah, totally, absolutely. And
Okay.
I mean, he's a crazy good guy, and on and on. But the product that we made was something that I had wanted to mess around with for a long time, and I always called it like a wet balm.
Okay.
Um, and so basically, it was like somewhere between an oil and a balm. So it was like an oil, but like you added just enough wax to where it was still a liquid, but it would dry into like kind of a wax.
Okay.
And we wanted to name it after him, and so we called it Ragermeister,
Okay.
and it smelled like Jägermeister, uh, and uh, and it was not a popular decision. It was not.
Didn't work out, huh?
Making something that smelled like Jägermeister was not a
Yeah.
popular decision. We've thought a lot about bringing back like the wet balm concept because it was a really great product. I mean, there's a lot of people that use that something. There's jellies now and things like that that
Yeah.
are really definitely like something between an oil and a balm. But we would never bring it back in. Not that scent at all.
Something that's probably a little easier to apply. I notice with like balms myself, you got to warm them up, then you get them
Yeah.
in there, and then they're kind of sometimes waxy or sticky, and it's
Right.
I steer away from the balms typically for myself because they're kind of annoying. So
Yeah, it
I
can
could
be
see
a little
like a
tough for sure. I do
um
our balms. We put a let's see, I have one right here. I don't know if there's a coin in it. Yeah, there is. We have this little coin that we put inside each one,
okay.
and so you can just take the little coin instead of using your fingernail, and you scrape out that little bit of balm onto the coin,
Yeah.
and then at that point, you have like a kind of a thin layer that's pretty easy to rub together, and so it, at least kind of shapes up pretty good.
I gotta
But
rock my bird like a little baby over here,
yeah,
man.
you
This
got it.
thing is going crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so if other people are out there that are thinking about starting a brand or maybe
Sure.
have already kind of started a brand, what kind of advice would you be giving them?
So I think the main thing is I think people should ask like what they're bringing to the industry. This is like a huge like I mean, like I said, there were 3 companies that when we first started, and now there's thousands and thousands. I mean, everywhere you look, um, and every like Facebook based beard group has the ones that they're loyal to, and I mean, it's such a like it's just the same thing happening over and over and over now, like, and that's where it gets kind of like what what are we doing besides further crowding an industry, you know what I mean, like, which is fine. I mean, ultimately, like, if people can find enough room for their product, and they can find a clientele, and it's helping them put groceries on the table, or whatever, I mean, feeding some kind of side hustle vibe, I mean, I support it. But I definitely think that what we need is way more innovation in this industry. The game needs to be changed. Like when we first started, We put out beard batter, and it was one of the first whipped products ever on the market. It was the first whipped product ever on the market. Um, and it's, it's one of those things where it's like often duplicated, never, or often imitated, never duplicate, or whatever. But same deal with like pine tar products. Like Grandpa's pine tar soap was a thing for sure, but nobody was using pine tar for training, like balms and things like that. And then obviously Genesis was a big game changer. And so I really think that that's what we need. Is we need people that are just trying to do something different, because I think we're seeing a lot of people that buy a couple products and then they're like, I could do this.
Yeah.
And, I mean, sure, I guess you can, I mean, if you can do your research and you can look up the oils to use and you can put them in a bottle and you make a cool logo and you find 20 people to buy it from you over and over again and you've done it, but
Yeah.
I don't, I think the question is legitimately just like what the industry needs, or what the, I mean, it's the same concept of if you go downtown and there's 45 restaurants, do you need to open a restaurant there? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. What are you bringing to the table? Just maybe
Right.
look at what your niche is going to be.
Exactly.
Something like that.
That's my biggest advice. Outside of that, definitely do the homework. I mean, one of the things, and the thing that made me such a popular guy yesterday, is just the idea of there's a lot of people that don't understand sources. And I don't mean this to be rude in any capacity, but it's, a lot of people don't realize that, like, argan oil, for example, is a huge one. There's one family in the entire world, one very large family, but one family in Morocco that controls the entire global supply of argan oil. And it's kind of weird too. Most people don't know that, like, argan berries are consumed by goats, and the goats poop it out, and they go through the poop and they find the seed, and then they express that, and that's how argan oil is made. It's kind of crazy. I mean, it's really wild. And almost all of the research, like all of the properties, like everything like that this beautiful argan oil is going to do from you, comes from websites like buyarganoil.com. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And then when the science finally catches up and they actually look at the lipid profiles, they find that it's really not that much more beneficial than, like, sweet almond oil, for example. You know what I mean? Just like really common oils that are way less exotic,
Yeah.
But the marketing is such a big part of it, that everybody gets really excited about that kind of, it's sort of a fad oil. That's what I always call them, And in the 90s, you had jojoba oil, and in the 2000s, you had argan oil, and, well, really in the 2000s, you had coconut oil, and then in the 2010s, you had argan oil, and everybody would just, it was everywhere you looked, no matter what. You'd go to Walgreens, and all the lotions and shampoos and conditioners were argan oil, or, on and on and on. And it's, the same thing happens over and over and over. And so my biggest thing is just, people really need to check their sources and understand that, like, commercial sources, like, telling you what their product does, like, you can't just believe that. You have to look at, like, peer-reviewed scholarly articles in order to, like, really actually get to the bottom of what these things are going to do.
Yeah.
And outside of that, it's all guesswork. It's all like, and it's the same thing you'll see all the time when you really look at it. They'll go, well, they claim that it does this, but there's never been any scientific evidence to support that. And,
Yeah, so maybe like one of the newer fads is probably the bird fats right now. Got the emu and the ostrich. And personally, I mean, I like some of the products that have emu and ostrich. They do feel nice in my beard. Ethnically, like you were kind of talking about, I mean, there are some interesting situations on how a lot of these animals are actually kept, and if people actually cared about that, maybe they wouldn't use the products, but I think it's definitely popular right now.
Yeah, it definitely is. One of the things to me that's, like, immediately, and I do also want to be clear, like, I don't trash ingredients. If something works, that's good, but my big thing about it is with emu oil, for example, we'll use emu oil. First of all, most people don't understand that. Like, I think people, I'm not sure, but I think people think that the emu oil is like gathered from their skin and feathers or something like that.
Yeah, they have to kill the bird, I
Oh
think.
yeah, oh yeah. They when they kill the bird, they take the fat and they render down the fat and they strain out the impurities, and that's emu oil.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? Like, and so to me, it's like, I mean, it's like not a whole lot. Like it's. I guess I fail to see how it's not similar to like chicken grease or something like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and so to me, just like right out of the gate, it feels like it would be kind of gross, but obviously it's refined and it's,
Yeah.
it's not chicken grease. Like, so I don't want to, I don't want to like put it down like that, but um it's the same kind of vibe where it's like this is really just started in like the last 3 or 4 years. It's really reached a high level of popularity, and science is still right now like, here's the claims that they make. There's no scientific evidence to really support this, but they're saying that it works. And there are, I mean, there are definitely some um indicators that it's like a good, like, it breaks down the cholesterol deposits and like little things like that a lot of things don't do, and it has anti-inflammatory benefits. But the question is always going to be like, how does it stack up against the tried and trues? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when you look at something like hemp seed oil, and we know that it has this massive fatty acid content, and we know that it has like huge like omegas, and it has like huge antioxidant and it's something that's so common. Like, this isn't like a fad. It's not going away. It's always been around. And when you look at, like the fact that hemp oil, crushes coconut oil by like 800% in the content of like the beneficial stuff. And so once the science is done, once the lipid profiles come out, once we really see the thing, will it have been worth all of this, I guess. And then the
Yeah.
only other thing that I'm saying is that a lot of people report a lot of irritation about it. And, that doesn't, if it doesn't irritate your skin, use it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, whatever. But when you hear, people be like, I've tried to use the beard oil or the bird oil stuff, and I just, my face breaks out, or, on and on and on, then that's just like, you know, we'll see if the juice is worth the squeeze when the science really comes out.
Yeah.
It's really, really kind of the whole thing. And that's just one of our things, man. We just, if you look at our ingredients, they're all tried and true. It's sweet almond oil and apricot kernel oil and rice bran oil and grapes, all the real castor oil and hemp seed,
Hazelnut, I believe you have in
hazelnut.
there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
And so it's just, there's nothing that would surprise anybody.
yeah.
But I do think people do get really, because then, you look and you see these companies were using argan and jojoba oil for so long, and then like a variety of the ones that we're using. And so when you see something like meadow foam oil, you're like, what is this? It's exciting. It feels exciting, but it's the same kind of vibe where it's like, it's, you know what I mean? You get more benefit out of rice bran oil, man. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
I know that's not exciting or fun, but
Yeah, the exotics are definitely appealing. I mean, even for
right,
myself, I see them in products, and I'm like, okay, this is different.
right,
Because you see so many brands, and they're using a lot of the same base brand or
right,
blends, right? And
yeah,
obviously, those are tried and true oils, so I'm assuming that's why they're
yeah,
using like those simple 2, 3, 4 basic oils.
sure,
But when you start seeing some of the more unique, exotic oils in a
sure.
blend, I think it definitely piques your interest.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, you want to see why. You want to know why. I get it.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, and we experimented not very long ago. I mean, a few years ago we were trying to just make like an oil that had like a much more that was like had like a much higher viscosity. That was just like way. There's a synthetic oil, and I can't even think of what it's called right now. Woody's, I think it was called Woody's.
okay.
And it's totally fake. Don't anybody use it. Like,
I know the brand Woody's. I actually have their shampoo, and it's terrible.
Perfect. Yeah. But their beard oil is like this silicone. It's like the silicone. I don't know. It's very strange, and it is. It's like some type of silicone derivative.
Yeah.
Thing or whatever, but it's very slimy and very like viscous is the only way to really like, whatever. And a lot of people really like the texture of that, and a lot of guys with really long beards, like the really long beards, really like the texture of that,
Weird.
And so we messed around with like some like a lot of exotic oils that kind of have some of that stuff, but it really is just our fatty acid triglyceride content was cut by like 72%. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so it's like we can get this texture, but if we get this texture, we're totally losing the benefit. So it's just, I don't know.
So if someone's out there and they're watching this and they're thinking about trying your brand but they haven't, like, what makes your brand, what makes your products unique and special for them to give it a try?
One of the biggest things is just we take an absolute scientific approach to the entire thing. That's the thing that has kept people coming back time after time after time. We have like one of the highest. We have a huge customer retention, like client retention rate, and that you always judge that by like who orders once, who orders twice, who orders 3 times, or whatever. And our third time orders are like 76%, which industry wide I think that's like 2%. And ours is like 76%, so that just means we're doing it, which is great. But the whole deal is that we take a scientific approach to all of it, to formulating all of our products. We're sticking with tried and true stuff, but we're ratioing all of our oils in using a lot of knowledge that a lot of people just don't have, that we're making very educated and informed decisions about. And then we're turning around and we're third-party lab testing all of it to further back up our claims. Okay. It's just, one of the biggest things that we hear a lot is, the idea of like, I thought I knew what beard products were supposed to do, and then I used your product, and it's night and day. The difference is night and day. And most people just, a lot of people just don't know that, like, one of the biggest examples is like how much brighter the pigment of your beard will be when you're using a good beard product. And most people don't realize that all of that's like controlled by, the general health of the follicle and the general health of the strand of the hair, and how we can literally change that with a good product.
Yeah.
People talk all the time. They're like, there's no such thing as anything that increases growth speeds, and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, besides taking care of it and reducing inflammation, reducing inflammation and reducing breakage are 2 of the number 1 things you can do to see huge difference in beard growth speeds, because ultimately inflammation slows our growth, and then your beard breaks off at the end when it's not healthy, and so it's growing slow and it's breaking here, and you don't notice any difference ever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Your beard just stays the same length over and over and over. But if you can stop the ends from breaking and you can increase the growth speed by reducing inflammation, it's like, I mean, there's so many of these things that we can do by using science, by verifying all of our claims through science. It's not magic. It's not some miracle claim. It's literally just science, real simple stuff. But the fact that we know what we're doing, the fact that we're educated about this, and we're not making claims that we can't back up, and
that's good.
That's the reason to come.
So a lot of people were asking about scent longevity. When you're using essential oils, typically the scents aren't going to last as long as if you're doing a fragrance oil. What kind of time frame would you say your scents would last in beard?
So definitely it's an all-day thing for sure, but it's not an all-day thing like if like it would be if you used like an artificial, like cotton candy scented, whatever. Like we approach everything like I said, we use like perfuming arts, and so I approach it like the same way I would apply, like wearing cologne. I want to be, when I'm applying the product, I want it to be invigorating. I want to smell it. I really want that to be a part of my ritual. But with it being something that's on your face, like when I think like my beard's going to smell like cotton candy for 12 hours, that just sounds like a migraine to me personally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what we want is we want scents. And like I said, that top, middle, and base note. As the day goes by, that top note is the one that fades away, leaving the middle note and the base note. And then by the end of the day, you're left with mostly that base note. And so it basically matures and evolves the same way that a good cologne does,
Okay.
And so by the end of the day, you can still get in there and smell it. And the people who snuggle up to you or whatever are still getting in there and smelling it. But you're not like running people off with this like beard that's just wafting this, this scent. And so for me, it's like I apply it in the morning and I'm a nighttime shower. And no matter what, I can always still smell it when I'm heading into the shower. So the scents absolutely last all day, just not in that obnoxious kind of way, it's really important to me to have like something that fades and matures,
Okay. Do you offer any kind of discount codes for first time buyers?
Do, yeah. The easiest way is when you log into when you go to our website for the first time, there's a little thing that pops up about joining our mailing list. And that gets you a code for your first order for 15% off. And I mean, I'll spoil it. It's literally just Beard Strong Life. You don't even have to sign up for the mailing list if you want. But we're not like a spammy company. We only send out emails when we're having like a sale or something that you need to know about. We don't just like blast emails like some companies just blast like 2 or 3 emails a day just for the hell of it. But we send out like sometimes like a bi-weekly newsletter, just like some little beard grooming tips and stuff. And then we'll just, we send out emails just notifying of upcoming sales and stuff like that. And we have a tendency to do sales around most of the holidays, and we do a big Black Friday sale, and we do a sale on my birthday, and all that kind of stuff. So the mailing list is totally worth signing up for. But even if you don't want to, the code that you would get for signing up for the mailing list is Beard Strong Life.
Okay. I feel like we've touched base on quite a bit of things, kind of like who you are, what the brand's about, products and scents. Is there anything that we haven't touched base on that you'd like people to know about?
Man, I don't know. I think, one of the big things, I guess, is a lot of people haven't heard of us. And it's, I never like to talk, like I said, we worked so hard in the early days to control the brand and to make sure that people came to us to do it. And then all these other companies started up all over the place. And it was really funny because there was, somebody said something yesterday where they were like, well, I've never heard of you, or whatever. and which is fine. I mean,
we ain't never seen you around these parts.
We don't like you. Yeah. And yeah, totally. And I just think, one of the big things that once, like I said in the beginning of the show or whatever, I said, is really about being able to take our hands off and seeing if the boat floated on its own through word of mouth and on and on and on. And then, we had the retail stores and stuff like that. So we were doing a lot to really focus on, these personal, one-on-one interactions rather than blowing up these and we don't run ads and we don't run, you know what I mean, things like that. It's all very guerrilla marketing and whatnot. So we're it's really important to us to meet people kind of one-on-one. So even though we've been around for a really long time, I don't making the claim that we're some hot big commodity type thing and everybody's supposed to have heard of us and on and on and on. I really believe it or not, we are very humble about what we do. And, we're just also very confident about what we do,
Okay.
And we've been in business a long time. And you can see as you're scrolling, every one of these products has these 5-star reviews. And when you click on these 5-star reviews, I mean, you can, there's every product has its own review. Oh, there's a 4-star on that one. I'm embarrassed. I'm just kidding.
Clicked on the wrong product. Hold on, I'll edit that out. Don't worry.
I'm just kidding. No, you're fine. No, I mean, and you can see, each one of
Brings
the
out his
people
copper tones.
who, yeah, totally. Each one of these people, they're all verified owners, man. These are all, each individual person is a person who's, actually bought the product and continues to buy the product. And, it's nice, man. We're reviewed all over Yelp. We have reviews all over Facebook. We have 10 years worth of reviews. That's invaluable stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're at that portion of the interview where we've kind of wrapped up most
Sure.
of my questions here. I'm going to go ahead and throw it to the viewers that are on
Sounds good.
the stream right now. Go ahead and toss some questions out there, and we can go ahead and ask Brad whatever you like. Brad and I discussed this a little bit earlier, and he said he's okay with taking a few hot takes and,
Yeah, sure, man.
discussing some stuff here.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to say too, the group, that I met you in yesterday. I had already posted a public apology in there or whatever, but I did, I do have this tendency to I'm a product educator for the Missouri State Board. So that means, we legitimately like walk into salons and we teach like salon staff about products and how they work, and we bring charts and we do the whole thing. And so a lot of the time, when I walk into a room, people are like ready to like learn what I have to teach, I guess.
Yeah.
And I probably brought that attitude into the group, and I wasn't thinking
You were ready to school some people, and they weren't having it.
Right. It's not even like I was like ready to school. It's like legitimately like I just came in with the intention of like delivering some facts, some information. I wasn't necessarily trying to be like, none of y'all know anything, and I'm gonna tell you, and you're gonna listen. I wasn't. In retrospect, I promise I understand. I see how it was perceived. Yep. I do. I promise I do. But I am a humble guy. I'm a huge, I'm a good friend, and I'm not a cocky, I'm the lead singer of a band. I'm that kind of cocky, but I'm not like, I'm not a jerk. I'm a very like humble guy with a really good relationship with, both of my feet on the ground.
Totally understand that, and to be honest, I've placed a few hot takes out there in these groups, and they weren't received as well as I thought they were going to be, and sometimes I have to step back and be like, well, did I just word that wrong, or maybe I'm on the wrong page, or maybe I should just shut up.
I get it, man. I made the apology post, and I was having some really positive interactions, and I understand, I was subsequently removed from the group.
Kind of bummed out about that, to be honest. I mean, I understand, but I think it would have been nice to at least have you in the group, and even if you sat back for a minute and kind of watched what was happening, because even after you were removed, people continued to talk about the product, the post, you, and to be honest, it's not fair that you weren't even there to like defend yourself, or at least. So I think that kind of was a little bogus, but I don't run the group, and I still have a lot of respect for the guys that do.
Of course, yeah, I do as well. I've spoken to each of them today. I did send a sort of an apology explanation style thing to each of the admins, and I had good conversations with each of them, and a couple of them, wanted to, remind me like, well, you came in like a jerk. And I was like, I
came in hot.
That's my bad, and I took accountability for my part in the whole thing. But I do, I said to them as well, I said, I don't think that it's necessarily fair to hold me accountable for the way that people reacted to what I said.
Yeah.
I made my apology post. I was sincere about it. I do mean it, but to say that like I'm the common denominator for all the drama, so getting me out of there was the easy way to return to normalcy. I don't know. It's their decision. It's their group. You know what I mean? But but I've in my groups, I manage two groups myself. Big one. One is Beard Strong Society, and the other's the Rougneck group. And I think there's 9,000 people in Beard Strong Society and 3,000 or 4,000 in the Rougneck group. And
wow,
I get it. I mean, adminning groups is an absolute headache, and when the little shitstorm starts, it starts, and it can be tough, man. You just want it to stop,
It is entertaining, though. I'm not gonna
Oh, I
lie.
get it. I get
I
it.
enjoy it. I'm kind of that guy. I enjoy a lot of the
Sure.
crazy stuff in the groups,
No,
but
I
maybe
get
I'm
it.
the one man out that enjoys that.
I'm the same. You know, I talked to what's his name, Austin. I talked to Austin,
Yep.
and I think he and I probably have a, you know, we're both dads, and it's like, you know, when I'm like spending time with my kids, or I'm like working, or I'm like, you know, I mean, I'm doing I volunteer. I'm volunteering for the local mayoral campaign. The election for that's on 4 or 5. At all times, I have a lot going on, and the idea of like some drama popping off that's demanding my attention at all times is like very distracting, and I completely understand. I mean, I
Yeah.
do understand. Like, but I just, you know, I've explained to all of them. I'm like, if you should decide to give me a second chance, I will be a model citizen. I
I'll be
am
good.
totally.
I'll behave.
I'll be good. I promise. I even said I'll do a huge giveaway. We can call it the Brad Redemption giveaway. We could, you know, we could do all kinds of fun things here. Let's, you know,
Yeah.
whatever y'all want to do, you know. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
they were clear that it wasn't going to happen today.
yeah. Well, I know that that post, you know, did come in pretty hot, but I mean, for everyone to kind of decide that they understand who you are or what your point of view is off of one post, you're not really going to gain everything from that.
Right.
And I think people just maybe took a little offense. A lot of these guys have loyalty to some of these brands that use those carrier oils, some of those fragrance oils, and I think they felt kind of personally attacked maybe in that whole
I can
situation.
understand that for sure. Yeah, one of the thing I was, you know, I did really try to say in my post, you know, there are 4 times through the post where I was trying to be like, now this is the part that pisses people off. So try not to take it personally. Try not to get defensive. Just try to see if there's something you can learn from it without reacting. And we didn't. Those parts did not land. Apparently, there's a lot of defensive. There's a lot of hurt. You know, and I mean, I get it, man. I mean, it is what it is. Product loyalties, brand loyalties, especially when you know the people personally. I mean, that's how we got started, man. You know, like, and I'm sure people went to bat for us in those days too, man. So it's like I get it, and I didn't, you know, I think one of my things that I intended to say, and one of the things is being in business for 10 years, you know, you can kind of sit back and you can see these patterns of like, you know, what maybe irks you about the way that the industry is perceived. And one of the biggest things I think that really does irk me is the general lack of any type of regulation in the industry, meaning that just anybody can say anything. I mean, you can say anything.
Yeah.
And there's nobody, no regulatory board or anything that's going to come and say that's not true. You know, it's literally just like whatever. And so we spend a lot of time correcting misinformation. And like where people come and they go, well, I thought, and then we go, actually, unfortunately, that's not true. Here's the actual science, you know, on and on and on. Another brief thing or whatever is when, you know, we don't like, I've made no secret that I don't like argan or jojoba oil, and those are 2 of the most common ingredients in the beard care industry for sure.
Yeah.
And so when you see a 50-50 blend of argan and jojoba, and it's voted as like the best beard product ever by so-and-so Instagram page because it smells really good.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm just like, you know, some people in the comments thread were saying that I told them, like, they were like, I feel like you're telling me I don't know what I like or whatever. And it's like, I'm not trying to, but like at that point, when somebody's saying that like, this is the best beard product, but they're like, I know for a fact that it has a formula that doesn't work and they just really like it because it smells good. At that point, it is sometimes like, you're doing it wrong. You can't say that it's because you're judging it by the fact that you really like how that smells. So you should say, my personal favorite smelling beard oil. That would be fine. You know what I mean? Like, but when, you know, I don't know, giving that trophy to somebody that has no idea what they're doing because they bought a fragrance oil from somebody that smells really good, just, it's a little annoying, man.
To be honest, I understand that point, and I've actually said this for quite a while because I think people make the biggest connection with these products, and I think this is why the men's grooming space has gotten so popular, is because of scents.
Right.
And people will find a scent that really either brings back a memory or they really connect with, and they're like, this is it. And I mean, I have a few different beard oil blends from this one company, and to be honest, the one that sticks out to me the most, that I enjoy the most, is the one that smells the best to me.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean that that's going to be the best blend,
100%.
but I always go back to that one because of the scent.
Right.
And I also have like done quite a bit of reviews on like soap and other body care products, and I've always said that there could be some of like the best products, but if it doesn't smell good, no one's going to like it. And then if you have
100%.
something that smells good, but it's the trashiest product, people will fall in love with it.
I know.
It is crazy. So
really
I understand the passion.
I mean, all of
Definitely
that stuff,
have that myself.
The senses are powerful in general. I mean, it's the same thing with a song, and it's the same thing, like people, will trash bands like Nickelback and like things like that. But if you're the type of person where that song becomes that earworm, you know what I mean, and it takes you back to some memory that you have, like they can trash your favorite band all they want to, you're still going to have that connection. And it really is, man. I mean, it's, the senses are very powerful. And so I completely understand the vibe. I think one of my things is really just like, my advice to people would be to find, just because you're spending your money, you know what I mean? Like, find a product that is scientifically formulated, that can back their claims. And then once you've dialed that in, then explore their scents. Find your favorite of their scents, or things like that. That would be my, and if you really can't, then, and you have a beard oil that you absolutely love, see if you can get them to tell you where they bought the fragrance oil, and then buy it and mix it in with an unscented beard oil from the company that whatever. I mean, there's lots of little options, but anyway, that's just my personal, like, I know that if I was spending $22 on a bottle of beard oil, I would want to make sure that it was providing me some type of benefit that I wouldn't have other than just smelling,
Yeah.
just smelling good.
So I don't see too many questions over here. Everyone's just kind of free chatting and having a good time. I think some people were concerned about like where the claims for certain oils were worse than others come from.
Sure.
I mean, is that like from research that you found or have done?
No, absolutely. So if the suggestion there, this is something that any kind of layman can do outside of a classroom scenario. PubMed is a really big one. It's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. But if we could normalize crafters using PubMed, I think it's like $300 a year, and that gives you like access to like almost the majority of like peer-reviewed scholarly articles that are published yearly, at least in the United States, but a lot of worldwide ones as well. And at that point, you can learn how to read lipid charts, and you can learn how to break down exactly which, like fatty acids. There's multiple kinds of fatty acids. It's really easy to say chain fatty acids, but then are we talking about short chain or medium chain? I mean, there's a lot of stuff like that. Bioavailability is another thing that we really talk about, because even if something has a high content of fatty acids and they're the right fatty acids, the one that you want, but there's not enough triglycerides to deliver them, and it can result in a lower bioavailability, or sometimes there's more. There's a lot of things like that. And bioavailability is obviously like how much of the actual product your body can use. And so like, or how much of the good stuff your body will absorb. That's the easiest way to say that,
Yeah.
A lot of the time we talk about that stuff in like with supplements and things like that. But learning how to read lipid charts is the only real way that you'll ever be able to verify an oil's like efficacy, or just like the efficiency of the absorption and things like that. And that's where product education comes in for us. That's like the whole concept. It's like, jojoba, for example, is not an oil. It's called jojoba oil, but it's not an oil. It's a wax ester, and it
That is true.
almost nothing in the way of bioavailable fatty acids. Almost nothing. It's a really good protectant, like a balm. Like if you put it on your skin, it would prevent irritation or windburn or environmental damage and things like that. But when you use it as a hair care product, which it got really popular because in the 90s they were really, well, in the 80s and 90s they were really confident that it was that it most resembled sebum, which is our skin's natural oil. And they were like, so it's great, you should use it, and just like a 99-cent bottle of Suave hair conditioner,
Yeah.
it's wax, and the way that works is it coats all of your hair in wax, and when it dries it feels so soft because it's wax, like it's like a paraffin wax layer on everything, and of course that's going to feel soft, but then it's locking out essential moisture that would be absorbed otherwise.
Yeah.
And just like people, when you use that Suave conditioner from the, like you wind up with brittle, with split ends, with all, it's just, you're not getting benefit from these things, and they're preventing like you from having the best, beard and skin health that you possibly could.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of the work. I mean, the best thing for me to say, and I understand that it's convenient because it is also a sales pitch, but is legitimately just like the proof is in the pudding, just like anything else, and we have so many reviews. I mean, we have 1,000 reviews at least of people just being like I said before, I thought I knew what a good beard product was, and then I use this, and holy shit, it's night and day. It's, my beard's never been this soft. This is unbelievable. Woke up, the next morning, it was still soft. Like, forgot to use my product for 3 days. It was still soft, like all that kind of, I mean, all the reviews are always speaking for themselves. And on top of that, I mean, we really do offer a money back guarantee, and we've never had to cash in on that. We've never had anybody cash in on that ever.
Nice. Wanted to touch base on jojoba, like you mentioned.
Sure.
It is at least like a waxy type oil, and I don't think people really understand that there's a soap brand that uses quite a bit of jojoba that they add in later to their product, and a lot of people's complaint is that it leaves like a film on their skin, and I think that's what that complaint really comes from, is that jojoba is leaving like that slight waxiness on there, and it does feel good, after it does its whole little deal, but it is it's not exactly an oil. So like, in your opinion, or would you recommend, what's 3 oils that you'd recommend people look for in a beard brand, not just yours, but like if they're like out there hunting for it, what would they 3 that they'd look for, and 3 that they should steer away from?
Sure. Hemp seed is my favorite. It's I'm a big, I'm a very pro hemp guy in general. If if I wasn't already sending that impression. But hemp seed oil in general is just so tried and true. I mean, the fact that it's got like so many omegas, and the fact that it's got a huge antioxidant kick is like, it makes it the perfect like if you had to use one oil, if you wanted to just go buy something and put it directly in your beard, hemp seed would be really good. But it's also a really thin oil. It doesn't behave very well just like itself, and it can be a little it can be a little drippy, I guess is the way to say. And so for that reason, like, hemp seed oil, sweet almond oil, and castor oil, I would say, are my 3. Like, if I had to strip the blend down to just 3, it'd be those. But also really important to note, and a lot of people don't know this either, but if you use castor oil at more than 13% of a 1 ounce blend, you can lose your hair. It's true. I promise it's true.
Okay.
It can cause follicles to go dormant. There's a lot to castor oil is like, I mean, nobody ever wants to like talk like anthrax is made from the same stuff that castor oil is made from. It's crazy. It is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But there are very toxic properties. If a lot of old wives or like old wives remedies involve like drinking a shot of castor oil to like induce labor if you're pregnant, like things like that, it's because it's toxic. and it causes contractions that induce labor. It's, um, more than 13% detrimental. And so when we hear people being like, I just use half and half castor oil or whatever, we're like, no, don't do that. Uh, your beard's not going to catch on fire, but it's not going to be, you're going to cause some inflammation. You're going to make some follicles go dormant, and you're going to be bummed about it. But when used at about 8% of the blend, it's a natural straightener. It heals and prevents ingrown hairs. There's a ton of benefit, and it is a huge part of how our blend works. We actually use it at 7% to get it's the sweet spot.
Okay.
To get all the benefit. And then sweet almond oil is like, when we hear people say, I just use sweet almond oil, we're like, yeah, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, that's a really good middle ground, man. It's got a lot of bioavailable fatty acids. It's a real tried and true oil. One of the really nice things about refined oils is they contain no allergens. So even people with nut allergies can use sweet almond oil, like, with no fear whatsoever, as long as you trust the company that's doing the refining. Like, as long as you're not buying,
it's not made in China or something weird
yeah,
like
or
that.
just some kind of back alley sweet almond oil dealer or something.
Black market sweet almond.
Yeah, careful.
You don't want it. Stay away from that stuff.
Right? Yeah. If they're selling it out of a trench coat, that's not it. But yeah, for the most part, any of the food grade companies are going to ultra refine it. And so with the things like sweet almond and hazelnut and stuff like that, you really don't have to worry about allergens at all. And then obviously, my big things are argan and jojoba. Argan is just, they say that on a molecular level, it's too big to be properly absorbed. So it winds up doing about the same thing as jojoba. It sits on the surface and coats and locks out moisture.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, that's what people talk about, where they're like, it just feels really greasy in my beard, like this beard product, or it left a film on my phone when I talked on my phone, or like whatever. A lot of that is normally because of the argan oil content. And then for beard products, I don't recommend coconut oil. Even the hydrogenated stuff, it's fine. It just doesn't. There's so much better, and it's cheaper. And I'll tell you, one of the things that we make a lot of like natural products for around the house, like just like salves and stuff like that. I mean, we have the ingredients, so why not? But just like for like skin irritation, like a rash or something, you can use calendula petals, which is just like marigold flowers or whatever, but they have like this huge kind of soothing content or whatever. And coconut oil being like a solid when it's at a certain temperature and a liquid when it's at a warm temperature or whatever, that it's perfect for that kind of use. You know what I mean? Like holding some type of botanical, like as the vehicle to like put a little cream on or something like that. It's perfect. Yeah. But in terms of like its own fatty acid content and like imparting benefit, everybody was flipping for so long being like, put it all in your hair, and like it's not all that. So a lot of the time, if I see those three oils in a blend, I have a tendency to avoid. I do definitely kind of have a tendency to maybe think that this person doesn't really know what they're doing. But I'll also say, I do also want to say that I do believe firmly that something is better than nothing. Besides 100% castor oil. Like, don't do that. You know what I mean? But as long as it's, like not as long as you're not putting alcohol-based stuff in your beard, like alcohol-based fragrance oils, or rancid stuff, and introducing a bunch of free radicals or something like castor that's causing dormant follicles, then any fatty acid content is better than zero fatty acid content. So.
Okay, what do you feel about terpenes? I've seen those being used in the future of beard products anyways.
Yeah.
There's not much research that I can find. I mean, there's a few different things I've looked up that kind of like suggest that they're good for your skin and your hair, but nothing that's like really definitive. I mean, have you heard about these, or got any knowledge on that?
I'm aware. So cannabinoids in general, I'm a really big supporter of medicinal benefits, and even our product, we have two. We have the We have the bud batter, and then we have Kind Beard, is what we call it.
Yeah, I saw that in here.
Yeah, which is our CBD infused beard oil. There's a lot of, these are some of the things where we're sort of on fringe science, because obviously based on illegality, there was a long time where you couldn't do the research on this stuff. But there's a lot of research to say that you can actually reverse damage, which is kind of like an unheard of thing, because hair is essentially dead protein. And so the idea of being able to reverse damage to dead protein is pretty huge. But one of the main things that I really appreciate about cannabinoids is the way that they increase the elasticity of the hair, and of the skin, which makes it just like a, I guess the best way to think about it, like an Indian burn. You know what I mean? Like, your skin is very like susceptible to like irritation and tearing and like on and on and on. And a lot of people get those little hot spots in their beard and stuff like that. And all of that is based on just like having like kind of dry and rigid skin. Like obviously the drier the skin, the more like sort of rigid and breakable it is. And the way that cannabinoids work to increase the elasticity of the hair and skin is like, there's nothing else that does that. And it's really fascinating because also our bodies, they've learned that like the human body has like receptors that are literally just for cannabinoids. Like we were meant to do this, like, which is pretty wild. When it comes to like the actual like cannabinoids, like the different compounds in the cannabinoids, like terpenes and like the different deltas and things like that, I'm admittedly not totally versed.
Okay.
There's a lot of people that are crushing that science more than I am, and I have looked into the one guy. He's in this group.
Yeah.
Hemp Wizard. I think it's Hemp Wizard.
Yep.
And I find almost all of his claims to be very. I believe the things that he's saying.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I mean, it's something that I want to know a little bit more about, but it's
not your specialties right now.
It's not my specialty, and it's also a little tough still. Like I got, we are not.
They're coming for me.
Oh, they're on. We're talking about.
They're on their way. They heard CBD and
they sure
about ready to get my door busted in. Okay.
I know. We got kicked off of PayPal.
Really?
We did, and you'll see. See how it says right there on the page. It says infused.
Yeah.
We've had to like back down from language where we say directly that it's CBD infused in the title and stuff.
See,
like
some
that.
people were asking like, did you have to have a separate website just to have this, or is there like something that you have to have in place for this to be on this website?
It's really tough. So one of the biggest things is that our payment processor that we use just simply asks us to like make it not as like just that it's not in the title, you know what I mean, of the product, and that it's not on the SKU, because if the in order for money to be like federally insured, it can't be for like anything illegal. And so payment processors are essentially banks, and so if somebody reviews their stuff and there's a line item that says that it's for something illegal, then it could cause all kinds of issues. So that's the main thing. But PayPal gave us no warning, nothing. We and they like seized our account too. There was like money in the account. It was crazy. It took like 4 years to get them to release the money that they held, all because they were even claiming like restitution. They were like, we need restitution.
Wow.
Like we need it was pretty wild. And so we're pretty careful. I at first I really wanted to like dive into that world because I just, like I said, it's, I'm a big fan of the plant in general, and I really wanted it to be kind of like something that I could lean into. And we sort of got slapped on the wrist, like on the real hard.
Etsy really comes down on some people. I know someone that was doing some infused soaps, and their whole website got basically deleted.
Yeah,
they're no longer.
That's what happens. Yeah, and until it's totally federally legal, man. We're just sort of letting other people lead the way on that one.
We have a question from Coffee with OIF Brewery or
Okay.
Brewer. Okay,
Love that.
interesting name. I love the name.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, so are your products registered with the national database of cosmetics like
Sure.
Yucca or EWG?
Sure. Yeah, we go through the American Cosmetics Board. We're so not registered with those the ones that you mentioned. Like I said, I'm a state board educator, and so in order to do that, where our products have to be like regulated like that, and it's the same as like any type of like standardized or not standardized, regulatory board or whatever. There's always going to be a lot of hoops you have to jump through, but our facilities have been inspected by our state board, and it's an FDA approved facility, and then everything else that we do is through the American Cosmetic Board. But with that in mind, we're very tied into like the cosmetology, the state board for cosmetology is what I mean when I say that we're product educators for state board. That's a short thing, but
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, I'd say that we're a lot. We've taken a lot of steps toward like being like as official as like a small handcrafter should be.
Okay.
And the main reason that we're doing this, and I'll tell you, and the reason why it's important, and all small crafters should constantly be living in a little bit of fear of this, is because companies like Johnson and Johnson and these like big companies that own like a ton of cosmetics, like lotions and soaps and on and on and on, spend a lot of money to lobby Congress to put massive regulations on us, on small crafters.
Yeah, they're coming for the small business owners for sure.
Well, they are, and because it's the same concept as you think about it, where it's like, you don't think that people are going to be able to like really crack the market share of like Dial soap or something like that. You know what I mean? But by the time you have, thousands and thousands and like, I mean, every town, every farmer's market, every single person probably knows like 12 people that they can buy soap directly from if they wanted to, like, and at some point, yeah, that really does crack the market share for them, and they're constantly pushing for heavy regulation. And so a lot of like our methodology and a lot of our ideas just to make sure that we're like on the edge of compliance. But the big deal is that there is like a massive financial barrier for entry for like all of those regulatory boards. And it's not as simple as just like signing up. It's like you sign up to get your inspections, and then once like everything happens, then you pay like $10,000, or like whatever. Like it's not cheap, it's not fun, it's all pretty awful. And even like our FDA compliance or whatever costs us like, I want to say it's like $2,600 every 4 years or something like that. I mean, it's not, these are all things that are the reason why it's so cost prohibitive is because of these like corporate lobby type situations and stuff. So,
Okay.
but what'd you say? Talk to me about the coffee. Whoever the coffee.
Oh, I think you actually answered that question. He was just wondering about the whether or not you're registered in the database.
Right.
Here's another question coming in.
I was just going to talk about
Are
coffee.
are you? Oh yeah. What kind of coffee
you're-
we're rocking? Dark roast for myself.
Yeah.
Are you using birch oil in any of these mixtures?
Yeah, so we use birch tar in 2 of our mixtures, and if the idea is about photosensitivity or skin irritation or whatever, we're about, so wherever the line for irritation is, we always come in at 1/3 of that. Is the way that that's just always been our philosophy approach for it. So with any EOs, like any essential oils, they always say like, I think it's 12 or 13 drops per ounce because essential oils are wildly caustic.
Yeah.
If you keep essential oils in a plastic bottle, they would shoot through the bottle. Legitimate.
Correct.
And so, the idea of like of making a fragrance or whatever is for skin safety. It's 12 drops per ounce of soft carrier oil, and we always come in it's 13 drops, and we always come in at 11. And then with things like our base notes, like where we would use birch tar or clove or cinnamon bark, or like the way more caustic ones that can cause a lot of like skin sensitivity and things like that, we limit, like, if it's in the blend, there's 1 drop of it. And it's the kind of thing where, like, I don't know if, I mean, if depending on what the person knows about birch tar, 1 drop of birch tar will make you feel like you've been standing by a campfire for like 3 days. Like, it's
yeah, it's pretty intense.
It is, yeah, and you really, you really got to be careful about it. But the other thing is, one of the, not only do we lab test for triglycerides and fatty acids, but we lab test for cosmetic compliance as well. And so that's ensuring and like certifying the fact that our products are skin safe. So, yeah. And we do take on a lot of costs to be able to do that.
Good. Hopefully everyone's appreciating that ASMR rain in the background. I live out here in Seattle, so it's like always coming down.
Nice.
So a lot of people have questions on like your specialties, or like where you have this, like where's it coming from, right? Do you have like degrees, or do you have certifications that kind of give you this knowledge or this confidence to kind of educate people here?
The hardest thing, the hardest part of my education is the clinical trichology. It's basically, this is a biology class that, like, if I were to lean into this more, I could wind up being like a doctor that, like, most trichologists, like actual like doctorate trichologists, treat like male pattern baldness and things like that. Like, that's their specialty. They focus a lot more on the follicle than the strand, basically. Whereas clinical trichology is way more about the actual hair than the inner workings of the follicle. But either way, I mean, there was somebody yesterday that was essentially like found a trichology course online and was like, you can just go online and become a trichologist or whatever. But it's like, I mean, it's like 900 hours of coursework, and like, there's a lot more to this. Yes, you can totally do it online. You know what I mean? Like, you can do a lot of things online. But yeah, the clinical trichology was really difficult, and very scientific. Like, I mean, it's very biology related and things like that. Becoming a certified master herbalist was way more fun. Just in general, way more work at your own pace, way more learning about things that are in nature around. It's something that, especially, I firmly suggest that anybody that's doing any kind of work with botanicals or vegetable-based oils, or like plant-based oils or anything like that, should at least go for clinical herbalism. Because it's awesome. I mean, it really is awesome. There's so much to it, like the fact that, like, that we reach for ginger when my kids get a stomach ache. That's part of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I was talking about the calendula salves and things like that. Like, there's so many natural plant-based remedies that are not crazy. You know what I mean? Like, there's also people who say that essential oils cure cancer, and that's not what we're talking about here. Like, I'm talking about the idea of, like, there's a lot of things where, like, our society traditionally reaches for Tums instead of ginger, or some type of a burn cream rather than coconut oil and calendula, like, just things like that. There's so much cool stuff you can do with herbalism, and it's pretty easy, and if you're passionate about it, it's fun. So I definitely recommend that people do that. In terms of clinical trichology, it's tough. I mean, it's hard, but yeah, that's where the majority of my knowledge comes from. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I think this was a pretty good interview, man. I think we learned quite a bit. If people want to find you,
Sure.
outside of the Brotherhood group, if they allow you back in there,
Right.
Which, like I said, I love that group. That's
it's a good
kind of
one.
been a staple. There's some really good brands in there, some really good guys in there. We just came in a little hot. You know what I mean? It's all right.
A little hot. I'm sorry.
It's all right. We'll cool down. We'll make it.
Facebook groups have, like, it's basically like, if you if engagement falls off in a Facebook group, it's dead, and it's like you can't get it back.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. And so to see a group that's that active is very refreshing and very cool. Like I said, I manage 2 really big groups, and they're like, it's like a ghost town sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So seeing like any group that has like, just like 15, 20 posts a day is pretty cool. That's pretty good. So yeah, hoping they'll reconsider that. We'll see. But on top of all of that, though, my DMs are totally open. I wound up with 47 messages last night from people that were all very supportive. I did not receive one negative message.
That's good.
From people that just wanted to know more and wanted to talk more, and I've been talking to them throughout the day today, and swapped around some friend requests and made some new buds and talked to people about product, the education stuff, and whatever. And so there's obviously a great group in there. But my DMs are totally open. I love to talk about this stuff. This is what I do for a living. This is what I like I said, I educate salons. I do all this kind of stuff. I don't have to, like I'm not a know-it-all. I'll tell you right away if I don't know something. So if there's questions, hit me up on Facebook, or if you go to the Rougneck website, there's a contact form. I personally monitor the emails. It's always me. So
okay,
feel free to reach out, man. I hope.
And that's Brad Jackson, correct?
Brad Jackson.
There's a Brian Jackson. He was getting a lot of heat. People thought he was you coming in, and they were calling him.
I think I might have seen his.
I was like, no, hey, hold on.
Yeah.
Brian's okay. Don't shoot.
I think he said, he made a comment and said no affiliation. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad Jackson, and I don't ever want to be considered unapproachable, or like, I'm definitely not like a stone wall or anything like that. Like I can change my mind. I can be convinced. We can debate, politely. You know what I mean? Like,
a little off topic here, but how's the fighting side? Is that your brand? That's your band, right? Are you still actively playing and doing some shows?
Yeah. We're a touring act. We're signed to a booking management firm out of Tulsa called Low Road Artist Management.
Nice.
They keep us pretty busy. We just put out 2 new songs, I guess about 3 months ago. And
Fire. I think Fire. I checked that one out.
Yeah, Fires, and one called Can't Help Myself, and then we have 2 new songs coming out in April. So
awesome.
We're always releasing new music, and at the end of April, we're going to be down in Arkansas and in Oklahoma, and we might get through Texas on this next run. And it's pretty nice, man. It's, having kids, it's hard to be on the road a lot, but we do these kind of tight little runs, where we go out for a couple weeks at a time, and we get to go a lot of places and see a lot of people. We have a converted Bluebird school bus.
Yeah, I saw that. Pretty cool.
Pretty great. Yeah.
I was a full timer for quite a while, so I was checking out the rig. I won't lie. Also played in a few bands. They didn't get as popular, but I definitely. Now I just do karaoke once in a while when the wife will let me.
I completely understand. Yeah, I get it. But yeah, Loretta 2. This is our second Loretta. We upgraded from a little short bus, but that's our home on the road. With our bunks and the whole nine, and we really like being out there, man. But our plan is just to, keep releasing music and keep playing shows until we get too tired to do it. So.
Nice. Before we wrap all this up, do you want to give any shout-outs to any friends, family, brands, anything else like that?
Man. Yeah. I mean, definitely like a big shout-out to any brands that are doing the work, man. I really do want to send the message that I am like so supportive of this industry being crowded. I love it. It's it makes for a lot of collaboration, and it I'm a firm believer in like the open market concept of like, it pushes all of us to be like our best, because we, just through the nature of that friendly competition. I just ask that people know what they're talking about, and that's it. And but outside of that, I'm also, always willing to talk shop with anybody. And I mean, big shout out to a lot of the companies that are holding in there. There are companies that started 8, 9 years ago that a lot of them have folded, man, but there's a lot of them that are still holding in there. And it's wild, to think that 9-year-old companies are folding and new ones are still starting up. It's pretty incredible, man. I mean, it really is an ecosystem. So definitely shout out to everybody that's doing the work, for sure, man. I admire all of you, for real.
Here's a really kind of dumb, off the wall question. It's
Okay.
kind of trolly.
That's
If somebody picks some rosemary out of their garden, does that make them an herbalist?
Yeah. No, absolutely not.
Sorry, it's
If
so
you don't-
stupid, but I read it and kind of chuckled to myself,
all right.
and I had
Yeah.
to ask just for comedic relief here. You know what I mean?
I completely understand. It is a it's not like it's not considered, like, it's not taken seriously as a science.
Yeah.
There, and we do live in this world also where, like, essential oils are, there's a lot of MLMs that are like essential oil based, and those are the people who are telling you that MLMs can cure cancer, and there are a lot of there are a lot of clinical herbalists who act like that. They really do. Like little things like, we can do all, we're gonna cleanse spiritually and blah 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 blah. And I'm like very much like a practical herbalist. Like I'm not crazy. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like we're not making claims that aren't real, but plants do have the, that's where almost every, like, vitamin, every, like all of the science comes from herbalism. And it sounds wild because it sounds like, just
Some hippie frou-frou stuff.
I mean, it really does. Exactly. And there's a lot of, I'm not going to lie, I learned from a lot of those people, like
A lot of pseudoscience out there.
Yes, a lot of it. But if you're taking a clinical approach to it, and you're looking at, like, really what the compounds can do, there's so much to be gained in it. There really is. And it really is something that I do wish, I wish a lot more people took a little bit more seriously. Like, I get the jokes. I promise I do. I'm not offended by them in the least. Because I also make the joke when I'm pretty stoned that I'm like an herbalist. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of an herbalist, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No reason to be so serious about all this, anyways.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think a lot of people, if we're referencing that original post that really got everyone heated, I think everyone just took it a little too serious.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And like you're saying, maybe you're coming in a little hot and just saying, hey, here's the facts of what I've got going on. And
I can be a little, like, jovial in my, like, real actual demeanor. And so if I were to have actually spoken all of that, I'd be like, everybody relax. Nobody get upset. And maybe they would have realized that I wasn't being as serious as maybe, you know what I mean? But text doesn't convey emotion very well. And,
No.
and I understand, and it really seems like I'm coming in and just being like, none of y'all know what's good, and I'm going to tell you what's good.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So, yeah, it's just,
I think a lot of us are very passionate about this body care space, which, to be honest, is fairly interesting that men are getting into the body care space and grooming. I've mentioned this on a few other episodes that, you'd be considered a Sally back in the day. You know what I mean? What are you doing? Putting lotion on? What kind of Sally are you? Beard oil? What the hell? And now everyone's like, check it out. Here's my new order. I just got the sweetest drop ever. And it smells, like you said, it smells like cotton candy.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
What? Are you even a dude
how many
still?
How many guys are showing their beard care, and it's like dwarfing their wives' hair care and
Yeah.
Just things like that.
Oh, believe me, yes.
You
My
know?
my wife gives me crap. I have like a whole collection. I've had to dial it back a little bit.
Yeah, I get it. We have in our bathroom, we have the medicine cabinet, and then right below there's a little drop down, and that little drop down is mine. It's my whole, and then she gets a little shelf in the closet.
So, another little question before we go. Outside of your brand, right?
Yeah.
Like I assume you're probably using quite a bit of your own stuff, and you represent that.
Primarily.
Is there a brand that you do recommend that is not yours?
Yeah, I mean, I did mention that I really like the Honest Amish Balm, but that's almost like kind of like I'm pretty sure you can buy that in Walmart.
Yeah,
these
it's the
days. And
Walmart
so,
brands now, pretty
right,
much.
right, right. Which is wild. I mean, that's such a wild concept because those guys have been, just present always or whatever. But there's a lot of brands that I really like. There's a brand out of Kansas City called 1740 that I really like, and they do a lavender cedar blend that is like the absolute ultimate bedtime. It's a wonderful product. And then there's a company called Bossman Brands. I don't know if you've ever heard of Bossman Brands, but they've been around
Yeah.
for a really long time as well. And I was talking about how a lot of people make like jellies and stuff now, and they
Yeah.
actually have that beard jelly that is really innovative. It's something very different. It's kind of that wet balm concept, but a little more wax heavy than the way we did it. I absolutely love those guys. And then we really came up a lot alongside. There's a brand called Texas Beard Texas Grooming Company.
Yeah, I think I've seen those guys too, actually.
Yeah, and just a lot of those kind of old schoolers. We had this group chat for a really long time, and it's not as active as it used to be or whatever, but with just a bunch of different product owners from that kind of 2015 era, and I really love those guys, and I do think that in this industry, especially as crowded as it is, it takes just like a ton of tenacity and a ton of like doing something right and being like sort of that the trying to like really set the standard, I guess, for like what all of this is. Like a lot of us, when you think about beard brand, it's like are we even in that realm of like small crafter anymore?
Yeah.
Or things like that. And whereas they kind of set the bar for everybody, you know what I mean? And then everybody sort of like figured out where they fit in around that kind of vibe, so
Bring up a
there
good
are
point right there with
yeah,
the small crafter, actually. I mean,
sure,
what is the threshold for small crafter anymore? Because there's a few
sure,
brands that I'd still consider small craft, but they've
yeah,
definitely become popular enough to feel like they are big brands now.
sure, yeah,
And
absolutely,
sometimes maybe they lose that appeal of being a small crafter just because you
right,
see them everywhere. Everyone's talking about them.
sure,
Their price points had to increase, and everyone's looking at
right,
them like, hey, this brand is obviously way bigger than they're supposed to be.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
I mean,
I definitely think like it's probably mostly about compromise, because if you make that leap into the next step, you're going to have to compromise quality. And I'm like really sorry to say that there's no other reality to that. It's years ago I mentioned how Can You Handle Bar became the brand of Art of Shaving, and around the same time we were in talks with a big salon chain about being their brand. And this went on for months and months and months, and we were looking at it was going to be an $800,000 initial order, and we are a small brand, and $800,000 is a lot of money. And
yeah.
um, and in looking at that, in the way that they do those kinds of things, they give you half of that up front, and then you're responsible for making the product. And so I'm like, juggling in my head like how we're going to streamline this process, and how we're going to like use $400,000 to buy machinery and a warehouse and hire staff, and
Scale
you know what
up.
I mean, like rapidly, like really
Yeah.
rapidly scale up. And they wanted to get us to a certain price per unit, and I like could not get there. For the life of me, crunching numbers, I could not get there without sacrificing quality. I mean, period, And then, they have people on staff whose job it is to renegotiate that every quarter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So our initial intro price was going to be like the highest that it would ever be, and then they would try to whittle it
Chip
down.
you down after that every
Well,
time.
and then that's the whole thing, is that, if I'm scaling up and hiring staff and getting all this stuff, and then I refuse to budge on that price and they leave, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's enough to pull the rug out from under your life. Like that's why companies that made these moves turned around and had to close, because they just, they had to liquidate all assets, and there was no move to scale back down to like, a small, independent crafter brand and stuff. So
Yeah.
I do think that the moment that you wind up having to sacrifice quality in order to go that route, that's the moment that you've kind of lost the integrity of like a small crafter, like.
Yeah.
And I guess like small is like the word that I don't care as much about as much as I care about a person's integrity. And to me, it's like if they're not compromising quality and they're treating their people right, I don't care if you have 10 clients or 100,000 clients, as long as you're not changing the vibe of how you do things and who you are.
Yeah.
you know like I said, I mean, even if we automated every single part of our company, if it was lab made and drop shipped, I would still want to just be the face of the brand. I would still want to like travel and promote the brand and go to hair shows and
Do all the fun stuff,
just
meet
all
and
the stuff, but
greets,
I
and
just really want to be synonymous with the brand. And it's not like I want to automate it and walk away, and then
yeah.
let it, turn it into some kind of passive income where I don't care, or I'm not connected to it and I don't care about it, and the brand doesn't reflect my personal integrity anymore and things like that.
So right now you're kind of like in that middle stage. I feel like, right? You're not exactly the small craft little
Sure.
in their basement kind of making some products, but you're not over here where you're like,
Right.
in Walmart or nothing like that.
Right.
How many employees do you have to run what you're doing right now?
Sure.
Is it all
We
just
have
you and family?
so between the two brick and mortar stores, we have 9 employees, and which is, and those they kind of move around or whatever. As far as product creation, that's 2 people. That's my partner Meryl and one other person, and then digital marketing and online presence is all me. All of the financial, all of the regulatory, that's all me. So basically, more than anything, it's me and my fiance, and then just kind of a cast of mostly part-time to full-time employees. So they
Okay.
sort of run everything, but the majority of that is run by, or the majority of the employees are about the actual shop, the brick. Like I said, that's its whole own ecosystem. That's a lot of walk-in traffic and you know things like that.
Yeah.
So
You have two. You
that's
have
totally
2
different
stores, you said, or you just have the
from our
one
online.
store?
So we have the one store that's in downtown Maplewood, and then we operate like sort of like kiosky type
Yeah.
things, like in other crafter spaces.
Okay.
So and probably what's going to wind up happening is we're going to close our flagship store, which is going to be a bummer. I mean, we're already like kind of like making a move to do that. And
Yeah.
we've already like kind of notified our landlord, and we're already kind of like adjusting the hours and like
Yeah.
just on and on and
Scaling
on.
back a little bit there.
It just is the only thing that makes sense. We did like sort of like what we're considering like a soft close, like we sort of announced that we were closing, and we're sort of just limping our way out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of. Because like our facility is there, and we're still, like we're setting up commissary space to be able to like, still do that kind of stuff. But we really do want to probably stick with our with kind of our kiosk style. It just makes a lot more sense. It's
Yeah. A little
significantly
more
more
affordable.
Yeah, and then it's not relying so much on like drawing its own traffic. It's kind of more like involved with other things, so
Yeah.
that's all.
So
you
with
know.
those kiosks being, I mean, I doubt they're like really at malls, right? But
No,
there
no,
may be
no.
like
It's
little
more like,
pop-up shop kind of
yeah, we're
things.
seeing all kinds of. I actually really like it, but there's a good handful of stores in St. Louis, and then there's a handful of ones that are popping up nationally. I think one of them is called something Tree. I can't think of what it is, but it's
Okay.
like the vibe of like an antique mall.
Okay.
Where like people rent booths in the antique mall, and then they fill
Yeah.
it with all their stuff. It's kind of the same thing, but it's like for like like there will be like a candle making person or whatever, somebody
Yeah,
who
just
doesn't
different
woodwork.
crafters and
Yeah,
stuff, kind of like a
yeah, okay.
consignment,
It really is like
general consignment where they got a bunch of different people
exactly,
from the
yeah,
community offering their
yeah,
goods.
yeah. And then there's some that are like staffed a bunch, and then there's some that are more of the consignment thing. And so we really are just like really moving to that platform because it's a lot more hands off. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe that's the thing that makes sense. We're seeing a lot of that with as a lot of like big box stores close, it's like leaving a lot of like retail deserts, and a lot of that kind of stuff is coming in and filling those like giant department stores, like, which is cool. I think it's pretty cool. It's a good use of these giant buildings.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but yeah, so we're definitely in like a state of evolution right now. We've been like floating online for a long time and really functioning in our own groups, and then really focused on our brick and mortar retail spaces. And now people might notice us kind of resurging online and trying to really get our popping around, which is probably a little bit of the heat of me popping in there yesterday, and things like that. But yeah, that's just a lot of where the focus is now, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. Man, we've brought this out to about 2 hours, man. I really appreciate you coming on here. I got a little bit of pushback from some people in the community because
that's okay. I appreciate you having me on, despite.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what this show's about, just to kind of get to know some people and different owners and stuff, and definitely appreciate you putting your time in here.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Always glad to, man. I hope, I hope at least maybe people seeing me and hearing me speak, you can understand that I don't take a whole lot too seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not a grudge holder. I don't come in and pound my chest and try to be tough or anything like that. I'm not very good at dealing with idiots. But but for the most part, I'm not a tough guy or anything like that. Not a know-it-all, not cocky.
Okay. Well, yeah, man, I definitely had some fun. Yeah, I think. Got to know you, got to figure out what your brand's all about and all your products. You do offer quite a bit of men's grooming. I like the junk powder. That's got to be good for the hot days.
It's crucial. It's pH balancing.
Oh,
it really is. It uses the power of green tea, man. It's pH balancing.
Yeah, I was looking at that. We got the arrowroot. That's gonna be the drying factor, I'm assuming there, right? And then you got the MSM, which is pretty good, and then. You get the turmeric is actually really good for inflammation.
It's fantastic, yeah. And that tea tree extract makes it a little cooling as well. Cooling.
But yeah, if anyone's out there wants to check out Rougneck Grooming and Beard or Beard Company, take a look at his website. He does have quite a bit of products on there. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm in the process of actually moving out to Tennessee right now. That's why my whole place is kind of in shambles. But I'm gonna go ahead and get an order in with you once I get all set up, man. And I'd like to do a full comprehensive review at some point in time, just so we can kind of get everyone the full spectrum of what your brand's all about and what kind of products you're offering. But
absolutely, let's do it.
Yeah, but if anyone's out there trying to get a hold of him, check out his website, check out his Facebook groups. Obviously, like you said, you can go ahead and DM him with any questions that maybe he didn't answer in tonight's live stream. And if anyone's watching this later when it's not live, leave a comment, man. It really helps the channel out. Maybe even a like. You want to subscribe, sure, whatever, man. You know how YouTube works. I'm not going to force you to do anything. We're just here to have some fun. I really don't care. It's just all for the fun.
I love it.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, bud.
I'll see you around in these groups. We'll stay in touch, and like I said, I'll get a hold of you when I'm getting ready to place an order.
Sounds good, man. Yeah.
Everyone, you already know what to do. See you on the next adventure.